What episode are we doing? Oh yeah, Squire. Mm-hmm.
It will make a strange entry in the library banks.
Are we out of the timer? Okay, and hello and good evening, everybody. It is Monday, August 9th, 2021, and it's time for our next installment of Ted Trek Mondays here on Live Long and Podcast. It used to be on Wednesdays. It's still taking me some time to get used to it. As we continue our mission to watch every episode of the original series, not in order. This week's episode, we're talking about the Squire of Gothos from 1966, season 1 episode. Normally, I would bring in my dad next to introduce him, as he is the namesake of the Ted Trek series, but he's having technical issues. So let's bring in first Jody Simpson. How are you doing tonight, Jody?
Ooh, I'm first.
Yeah, you good.
I am not your father.
You are not. No, the paternity test came back, and you are not my father. So,
you know what? The 90s were a blur, but I'm definitely not old enough.
It's okay. I was born in the 80s. And then next, we have our next panelist, Adam Woodward. How are you doing tonight, Adam?
I'm great, guys. How are you?
Great.
All right.
And we expect Dad will appear in a short amount of time. However, we can get started on the podcast in covering this episode. So, Adam, you had mentioned in our chat that you had never seen this episode before, which, you know, is always, I think, always a nice thing when you can find a new episode of original series you've never seen before.
Yeah, you know why? I always avoided it. I hated when you're looking at Netflix or looking at Craig or whatever, I hated the picture of the guy, the actress Trelane, or the actor, Trelane, in that costume. It just annoyed me, and I stayed away from it simply because of that.
Because you thought, oh, it's going to have some Victorian or Napoleonic themes to it?
Yeah,
and
I wasn't going to get into it, and I'm glad I did. It was very much like another episode we just recently watched. I'll talk more about that. And obviously some great. It took me a little while to get going on this, but certainly a precursor to big character in Next Gen.
Yeah, let's maybe segue over to Jody. Jody, there's been a lot of comparisons made between the Trelane character and Hugh, who is more of a Next Gen and maybe Voyager character, soon to be a Picard character. Do you find those connections between these two to be valid?
I think Hugh was definitely expired, but you know, he was taken from this character, I think, or at least based
inspired by.
Yeah.
What seems to be the trouble?
However, this one's far more juvenile in my opinion.
It's like a child. Well, we get the ending where he turns into like the kid and everything. No, I would have won, and you realize what you're kind of dealing with. That like something that's someone who seems superior and more advanced can actually just be a child of a more advanced race who might just not be a representative of all of their species either. Okay, I'm just going to take down the title here so we have a bit more room on screen. I'll hide that for the moment. Okay, so Dad is not back yet. We're a few minutes in, but we're going to get into the episode.
He's got his tech support.
He's got my mom, who's the tech support, apparently.
Maybe you had to make her dinner first.
Maybe. It's hard to say. Okay, but it's kind of like they're on a routine mission. The Enterprise is going along here in season 1, and they talk about it's some kind of a desert. I wasn't quite following this part of the conversation. They were talking about that like a desert makes me think of palm trees and sand and beaches, and Spock says that's dumb. A desert's just a place with no water and barren. That's what, you know. So it's just kind of a whatever conversation, but it sets up sort of. They said that they're in the desert of stars or something here. I don't know.
Something like that. Yeah.
Maybe not the most important.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Why am I talking about it, Jody?
I don't know.
Why do I even bring it up?
I don't know.
What do you want to talk about?
Well, I think we're supposed to talk about the episode.
Okay.
But I don't think it matters where it is.
It doesn't. But okay, they're going along, and Sulu gets they find a planet out of nowhere. Not supposed to be there. They think it's pretty weird that they haven't noticed it before. But Kirk's like, hey, we got no time for this. We got to get to our mission. So, and just in the middle of that, Sulu disappears. He just vanishes from the bridge. And then moments later,
Zoink and gone. He's
Kirk vanishes. It's only when Kirk vanishes, Spock notices and he goes full reverse. It was very command-like. I was very impressed with Spock in this first scene where he's like, "You better full reverse. What the hell's going on?"
But how insignificant is Sulu if no one cares? No one really noticed.
Right.
They were like, meh. He's kind of gone.
If that's the way, if that's like the by the book thing you're supposed to do.
I think if anybody off of your bridge disappears, you should automatically start investigating.
Yes. Well, Kirk, I don't know
There shouldn't be a delay.
What was the delay between when Sulu disappeared to when Kirk disappeared? Because it was maybe seconds, right? Like just mere seconds, right? Yeah. So why? And I don't know why those two were selected in specifically. I don't think we ever quite get an answer about that. But then it becomes like a Spock and sort of the rest of them are left sitting around. So it's Spock and McCoy, and then there's DeSalle, who we saw he's in this episode quite a bit. DeSalle, let's just bring him in here for a second. I'll take up that logo. Yeah, so DeSalle, who is also isn't he in the episode called Cat's Paw? Where
I thought that while I was watching it, so it's very possible.
I believe he's in that episode, which also features a castle.
Yes.
Remember, like the big castle, and I think it's the same set that we lost Adam. It's the same set from when they do that episode. Now, this episode comes before that. This is season 1. Cat's Paw is season 2. But I believe in that episode, DeSalle he wears a red shirt, and he's the chief assistant engineer.
Yes,
if memory serves. Yeah. Anyway, so he's in this, but he's in this episode. He's more of like he always wants to pull the phaser and shoot Trelane all the time.
Yeah, I can't blame him. Let's put it that way. Oh,
who wouldn't want to?
Whoa, there we go. Oh, Adam's back. So DeSalle, do you remember DeSalle from Cat's Paw? Am I remembering this right?
I think so. He also he's got a very cop, the FBI kind of look to him, from those shows.
Yeah, he looks like a G-man. Yeah, he looks like
he does look like a G-man. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's part of the landing party. It's him. It's this other guy, Yeager, who's some kind of scientist, and they're saying this planet. This is like they're basically describing it as like the surface of Mars, or Venus, maybe. No, it's more like Venus because it's like volcanoes and it's super high pressure and you couldn't live down there. So if Kirk and Sulu are down there, they wouldn't live very long. But he's like, if they are alive, they got to be there. Like that's the only place there is to look. So eventually Spock agrees, and Scotty wants to go, but Spock's like, no, you and me got to stay here, Scotty. We can't afford to be going to beaming into a demon planet. But I'll send McCoy along with Yeager and DeSalle. So they're kind of like they're tasked. They get geared up with with breather masks.
The first time I remember seeing like them going down with some kind of breathing apparatus.
Yeah, it seems like something that would be more common.
Something useful. Yeah.
Useful, but it's one of the only times I can ever recall. Maybe the only time.
It's either that or get the screen door air.
Well, and we saw like the bigger environmental suits that they have are not so fun. But yeah, so they get down there and it's just a forested area. Yeager's like, hey, we can breathe it, and they very shortly after they find Sulu and Kirk inside this castle, along with Trelane, and that's kind of where the episode really starts to pick up. Although I did kind of skip over that before they beam down, there was sort of these messages being sent to Spock through like the viewer, where he was giving
greetings and felicitations.
He was.
It was coming up on the top.
Yeah, I just liked him reading things like.
Yep. Hurrah. And I believe it's pronounced tally ho.
Tally ho.
Tally.
Yeah, Tally Ho, which makes me think of that restaurant in Hamilton called Tally Ho.
Can't say I know what the hell you're talking about, but anyway.
So here's a question again. Like, so Sulu goes, then Kirk rushes to his, where's Sulu? And he's gone. Nobody's driving the ship, right? I mean, and then Spock,
somebody
takes over.
Who does?
Scotty?
from another station, I guess. Then, right? Yeah.
They have to say, well, the bridge is so. When the first time they go down, it's the three guys. They meet up with the other two, Kirk and Sulu, and then there's kind of this exchange. But eventually, Spock and Scotty are able to figure out, like, okay, we can. If they are alive, they have to be in like this little area, and if we can beam them up, we will. And so that's what they're working on. Meanwhile, Kirk is, I guess, trying to make first contact with Trelane. Oh, there he is. Oh, maybe he's slowly moving into his chair.
We're missing the Ted the Ted trick.
You're on the air.
Go. All right.
Oh,
We're live. It's fine.
How's it going?
Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
My greetings and felicitations.
I'm having all kinds of problems tonight. The things talking to me, I'm hearing sounds, songs, all kinds of stuff.
Okay. You're here now. So
I gotta go to Gothos. I'll be back soon.
Yeah, Gothos was going to try to follow you wherever you go. Okay, Dad, we're talking about the Squire of Gothos.
Yep.
Trelane.
Yes.
Yeah. So is this an episode you're familiar with? Is my first question.
Yep.
And do you enjoy this episode?
Yeah, I thought it was okay.
It's just okay. It's
silly,
no
but-
Gary 7. Why is it not up to the Gary 7 standard?
Well, Gary 7 was a
classic.
Classic. There was no other episode like Gary 7.
No, there is no episode like it.
If you couldn't tell, I was biting my lip.
Okay, and what do you make of the character? Do you find him to be fun? Do you find him to be sort of just I guess, is it like maybe the first viewings
he's kind of like a 12-year-old kid, maybe, or a 10-year-old kid.
I get maybe younger.
Body. What?
Even younger, I think.
Maybe, but he knows some things that make him smart. But he's kind of like a kid. He didn't get his way type of thing.
Yeah, and he has this fascination with Earth culture because he says that Earth and humans are his hobby. But it's kind of an interesting premise here, where they say, like, well, we're 900 light years away. So if he had a powerful enough telescope, he would be looking 900 years into our past, because that's how light works, which kind of like is intriguing on its own, right? This idea of like, if you could get far away enough from Earth and you had a strong enough telescope, you could like literally watch the past.
Yeah,
That's
I
true.
guess so, yeah.
But yeah, so that's why he's antiquated. He believes it, I guess. What's 900 years before the 2266 would be what? Like 1300s?
Before Napoleonic times, that's for sure.
It's well before the Napoleonic times.
Yeah.
So that part of the explanation is a little bit off.
There. I'm having a problem. My camera's falling over.
We know. We're aware of it.
We can hear
I know you are.
We can hear every swivel of the
Oh,
thing.
I know. It's friggin' like tonight's just a night of hell. Everything's breaking down here.
It's all breaking down.
Jeez, look at this. There, how's that?
Well, it's not moving anymore, so it's better.
Well, it stopped anyway.
Yeah. Where's a good quote when I need it? Okay. So, Trelane and this whole thing. I don't know. I always find him quite fun. And in the same way I find John Delancey's version of Q fun. And Dad, before you came on, I know you're not as familiar with Next Generation, but there's a character called Q in that who's kind of
I've seen him. I know who you mean.
You're aware of him.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like that sort of like same characteristics here with the Trelane, because Trelane, unlike a lot of these other captors who like will capture Kirk and various members of the Enterprise to study them or to learn more, to enter them into a breeding program, wherever the aliens' motive is that week. There's always like a usually it's not as this playfulness, I guess, that you get with Trelane.
He's a very nice Charlie X. You know.
Yes, he's a much nicer Charlie X. Because he's like, oh, you're not a prisoner, even though he's not letting them leave and he won't let them call the ship. And
he doesn't get mad. He doesn't get mad.
I don't know if I would compare him to Charlie X, but okay.
Yeah. Look.
Well, how he went back to his people was similar.
Yep.
Yeah. He's kind of just I don't know, like he's got like and we were saying earlier that like when Q was first brought into Next Generation in the pilot, he's very much a villainous role in that. But over time, he became sort of more of this whimsical, less harmful seeming being.
I think the difference being, though, is Q was always trying to teach a lesson. You know, there's always a motive for him. And this guy, Trelane, he's just playing. He's playing with the crew.
He's just screwing around.
But he's like the adolescent version of a species like that, right? And I don't know. I don't think Trelane is a Q, but I think he's sort of closer to a Q than to a human.
I think
he's kind of like a little Napoleon. Reminds me of Napoleon with the haircut. And, he's probably more like, or an English guy like Robert Drake or whatever, or somebody like that. You know.
I like to think he's a Q.
Or something like that, right? Or like even when we at the end when we meet the parents, who are just the green blobs in the sky. Going, sorry about Trelane.
He's kind of a dick.
Yeah, we know. Like, well, don't worry. We're gonna ground him for a week. Don't you worry. I know. Yeah. That he's whatever. But I don't know. I was just I enjoy like all of the history, I guess, that is sort of happening that he's referencing the scenes. I always like this actor who also played. The Klingon in the Trouble with Tribbles episode, Dad.
Same actor?
Yeah, William Campbell.
Is that Trelane?
Huh.
Who also played Koloth in My Dear Captain Koloth.
I don't remember.
You're gonna take away all of our trivia.
Well, when I just know the trivia, I just bring it in. Anyway, so then there's this whole thing where like we're like, we're getting out of here, and Spock saved us. Spock's beaming us up. He's like, I don't like this, Mr. Spock. And they're like, okay, everybody, we're back. Let's get as soon as we can get to warp, let's warp away, and hopefully we're out of the range. And Spock's like, we don't even know how powerful he is. He's like, well, we didn't pick up on him until we entered the solar system. So maybe once we're out of the solar system, we can. And they're just about to go to warp. But then Trelane is doing this thing where they can't get around the planet for a while. And they're like, hard to port, hard to the right, go up, go down, low around. It's not working.
Yep.
Does it go on a little too long for you too?
That was a little long. Little long.
Yeah.
Not as long as some episodes, but
yeah. Sometimes on Netflix, I do have to go to like the 1.25 speed, which makes some of these original series episodes feel like more like modern day. Just a few fewer. It's just slightly faster.
I never heard you can do that. I never knew
you can do it on the computer versions. Usually not like the TV versions as much, but like if you're watching on a browser, you can watch it, or you can watch it 1.5 times faster. Which is I find distracting because it's like they're clearly sped up. But
why didn't you tell me this when we were watching Miri?
I just wanted to make sure we got to the 69th podcast before I told you, Jody. So it was.
Well, this is very useful information now that we're 10 episodes left.
Yeah, about that exactly.
We could have done 3 episodes in a night.
Yeah, but we still can use that for Spock's brain,
which is next week, by the way. But yes, so
you have to suffer through that.
Right. This whole and then after they give up after an above average amount of time, I'd say Trelane appears on the bridge dressed up in a cape and is full deer because he was all fascinated when he heard that there were women. He's something.
He's showing up on the bridge in a cape. He's got to be a Q.
Yeah, but if he's such an omnipotent being, why is he so into women?
Women? Do you mean that you actually have members of the fairer sex among your crew?
Yeah, but Q hit on
among your crew.
I got from this episode that, if it wasn't for his powers, which are significant, Kirk could completely outwit this guy. he's not smart. He's just playing around. he's controlling, of course. But honestly, William Campbell, that guy, he kept me entertained. He played a good character in this
He
episode.
was very eccentric character. It was good.
Very eccentric. He was also fascinated with Uhura as well as one of the yeomans. I don't know if this is yeoman Teresa Ross.
I'm beginning to think there's more yeomans than there is actual like commanders on this ship.
She was
there's a lot of yeomen.
Yeah, she's only in this episode. She was the only. This was. I don't know where Janice Rand was that week, but she wasn't available. So they brought in this one. She doesn't show up until halfway through the episode. I don't remember her being on the bridge for any of the earlier scenes.
She started the episode by giving coffee to everybody.
Is that where she was?
She was there. Yeah.
I completely forgot about the coffee.
In Dixie cups.
Big Dixie cups. Yeah.
I didn't know they had those on the Enterprise.
I'm just trying to figure out why they keep serving everybody coffee right near controls. As a person in IT, I can tell you that is literally the worst thing you can do.
And the worst thing, Jody, I don't know if you noticed, but they had like the helm
at
some angle, and the cup is sitting on
the cup's sitting like this. Yeah. And it's like, oh, it's gonna pill over at any time. Yeah, all right, great. Have you ever tried to get coffee with cream and sugar out of a keyboard? It is absolutely impossible.
You buy a new keyboard.
Yeah, you buy a new keyboard.
Yeah. So when they get down to the planet, Yeoman Ross is dancing it up. After Uhura's on the organ or the harpsichord or whatever that instrument is,
and she's just thrilled that she can play music like this now.
She was just thrilled.
So glad she wasn't singing. That's all I had to say.
Yeah, and there's always one of these scenes where Kirk has to straighten out the woman crewman, right? Where he's like, I don't like you taking, because he changes her dress to like a gown, and then he puts her hair up and gives her all these things and whatever. He's like, I don't like you taking stuff. I don't like you dancing with him, and I don't like you doing all, like just stop it, And and Uhura's like, I can play the harpsichord. I don't know if this is before or after her memory gets erased by that robot thing, but I don't know. Maybe she relearned that skill once she came back out.
As far as I can tell, she can play pretty much everything.
Yeah, she's a musician, so it's not...
I think she can play everything.
She's the most talented person on the ship for sure.
Yes, and I'm sure we'll hear about what song she was playing in the fun facts. But then the whole duel comes up where Kirk's had enough of his nonsense. They kind of figure out the mirror that why does he always go near the mirror? And is it vanity or is there some other reason? I do like the problem solving that Kirk and Spock go through in this script and trying to figure, okay, well, why is he always near the mirror? What kind of machine would you need to do the things we're seeing here? And so they're like, while Trelane's busy dancing around and doing his things, this is always a good thing about the Starfleet crews.
Did you see that look on Kirk's face a second ago? Here, let me go back a minute.
Yeah. And
you saw that too, didn't you? Watch here. It's coming up. Right about now in a second here.
Is it when he realized it? He's like, get over yourself, Uhura.
Well, she starts playing, and then this. Okay, what is going on here? He's like listen, do you know how many yeomen I go through? All right, can you not take this one?
No. He said, I got plans for her tonight. Now you're getting it.
What does he say to her later on? Like, Cinderella, go get rid of your glass slippers or whatever.
He's got like stalker eyes.
Yeah. So
the funny Sulu's like, I'm done with dinner.
Yeah. But no, guess who's like, McCoy's right into it. He's drinking.
McCoy was drinking and eating, and I get that he has lines that come up after talk about they don't have any flavor, but he would look like he was really trying to.
He's got the glass in his hand. He's like, this is my sixth one.
Yeah, for something that doesn't taste like anything, he's bringing along.
Yeah. Yeah, sure, drinking a lot of it.
And why are you walking around with it like that? It tastes like nothing.
And Kirk just looks at it and goes, "You guys."
Happy someone gave him a drink.
Yeah. It looked like a nice spread they put out, though.
It was. Now the whole duel thing, where he's like, "These are the dueling pistols that slew
your heroic Alexander Hamilton."
Which I also thought was a weird reference because
in 400 years, not 900.
Yeah, and Hamilton comes long after Napoleon, right? Or no?
But
No, Hamilton comes before Napoleon. So
it'd be around the same time, actually.
Same time, yeah.
yeah. And so yeah, just like I guess because most Americans know about the duel with Alexander Hamilton, right? So that's kind of an easy reference to put into the episode.
Well, I don't know if they knew that then, though.
I don't know. I was not a boy growing up in the 60s in the United States.
I don't know if the 60s that was a standard thing to know, but
maybe not for Canadians.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
But I don't know. I think they teach that history quite a bit. But
oh, there's a slap. All right.
Oh yeah, he's like, "Are you challenging me to a duel?" He's like, "If you have the courage." I don't know. I like the way these two acts, Shatner and Campbell, work off each other.
They probably were both trying to figure out who can outdo who.
Yeah, because they both kind of got like this little like, "I'm going to show you," right? And I think a little bit of that like came through later on when they did Trouble with Tribbles together. Even though they only have that one scene or maybe two scenes in Trouble with Tribbles together. But none of you guys remember him playing the Klingon.
No, I don't remember that.
So I don't know. Maybe he didn't do a good job. I don't know. He didn't make an impression.
There's Kirk.
Well, I remember the Trouble with Tribbles. He didn't look quite like a Klingon. He almost looked like another.
Well, like all the Klingons in original series.
Yes, but we don't talk about that.
Yeah,
he didn't really look like a Klingon.
What you mean he didn't look bronze enough?
Yeah, and he also didn't have the big mustache, I don't think.
He had a goatee.
I'll tell you right now, he looks more Klingon than anybody from the first 3 episodes of Discovery. I can tell you that.
Yeah, well, they had some issues there. Now, where do we go from here? So he shoots the mirror, and then he goes, "Oh, I'm going to kill all of you, especially you, Captain." But they say, "Well, whatever. We're out of here. Peace out." They beam up, and they eventually get cornered, right? And this is where that's when they had the whole thing. They couldn't get away. I'm sorry. I'm remembering these things a little bit out of order. And then Kirk's like, "No, I'll go down. I will do whatever with him. If I don't come back in an hour, you got to get the ship out of here and leave." But basically Shatner or Kirk in a very Kirk-esque move is willing to sacrifice himself for the ship. He's like, "I'll give you the best competition ever." There's a bit of a trial first, where he's the judge.
Yeah, with the hangman's noose.
Yeah.
Tell me this isn't a Q.
Yeah, even wearing the judge's robes.
Like, obviously this came first, so the Q idea wasn't there yet, but tell me Q isn't based on this. Like, come on.
Oh, of course it is.
Yeah.
Well, when I was go ahead.
I think the other difference though is like when they shot out that mirror, it kind of proves the guy needs like some kind of technology to do what he does.
Right.
Right.
Q does not. So he comes across to me as a less sophisticated version of maybe a similar, like maybe a lower cousin.
Look,
something.
I'll tell you, when we get to ratings for just the fact that this is based, like Q was developed from this, it's got points for me.
Yeah. And there was a book I read, a Star Trek novel by Peter David when I was a kid, which is not canon, but it does actually, it's called Q Squared. And in that they bring in Trelane and they bring in Q and they bring them all together. So at least one Star Trek author saw the connections as well.
Not canon though.
Not canon. I don't make the rules. So I guess the whole final act is just between Kirk and Trelane.
Sorry, Jody. Did you see his face there? You got to go back because this is when he's like got that. Girl.
Oh yeah, when he tells the yeoman to go change her glass slippers.
Yeah, but now he's got the smug look on his face again. Okay, now I'm back in charge with her. Watch this.
She's like, she wants to change back.
Uhura looks great in this episode, by the way. She looks beautiful.
He doesn't even look at her. Hands her the tablet.
He's like, take care.
How did she still have her uniform? How that dress on? Why wouldn't she change when she got back?
She doesn't.
Yeah, she had to get back to work.
Finish the scene. Watch.
Who's gonna take that thing from the Kirk? It's her job.
Checking out her cleavage.
Yeah, he's checking her out quite a bit, and then.
It's her ass.
Look at that, eh? He's just like, that is
Yeah.
gonna be all over my bed later.
I don't know how else to interpret that.
There ain't nothing you can say on that one. That ain't already there.
Oh gosh.
He's like, you know where my room is.
That's like putting on the boots.
Yeah. Putting on the boots.
Oh yeah. Okay, and then the final act between Trelane and Thing. Then he's chasing him around with a sword for a lot of it after the trial. I do like the way Kirk like talks him in. He's like he knows how to like play this guy's personality.
Yeah, that's what he's a little smarter than Trelane. You know, I figure he knows he's got him pegged. He just can't.
There's some good vocals going on in this scene though, like with Kirk, because like he's really into it at this point.
Yeah, did you find looking at the noose over and over again a little distracting though?
Very distracting. Yeah, I understand why they put it there, but like, meh.
I guess the purpose is just like the threat of death is real, and
But Shatner acting in this scene is pretty good.
Yeah, he was good.
I really enjoyed both. Both
for the
of
weird
them.
screamy eyes that he has through most of the episode, but past that, he's got it going pretty good.
Yeah, even just this exchange they have on the bench here, and then the shot of the noose.
Yeah,
he's
like
like
shot of the noose. Yeah.
And then like later on, they're bringing like that noose over to him.
How do you sell something in between that? Like they show a noose, and then it probably went to like some kid's like cereal or something in the 60s, right? Like that was like a terrible way to like stop the scene. But anyway.
Yeah, it was just like later on, like when I think it comes after this. It's gonna like slowly like get closer to him, or like
it comes over like
it starts moving. Yeah.
Right. This is where I was glad I was watching on 1.25 speed, because I was like, no, this thing's moving really slow.
I love when he starts undressing out of the robe and shit, though. He's like, yeah, sure, I'm still flamboyant.
I'm trying to figure out these green pants. They don't look quite period accurate, but maybe they are.
Probably borrowed them from Sulu.
This shirt he's wearing is also, I don't know where, that's like the puffy shirt from Seinfeld or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's like a pirate shirt?
He looks
Earls and counts all used to wear that shit.
They all used to wear that stuff? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But even his mannerisms and stuff like that are very Q-like. Like, so it's got to be Q. It's got to be Q. Just early. Yeah. So Dave saw this much faster.
A little bit faster. Just 25% faster.
Ah.
Yeah.
I like how I keep staring at it like Kirk, like literally like a noose is the worst thing that they can encounter in the 23rd century. It's like you got fucking phasers that can disintegrate people.
Had a lot more other things that have really challenged him rather than noose.
Yeah,
man,
maybe it's a fear. Maybe it's one of his fears.
Maybe, or maybe somebody. Well, he's from Iowa, isn't he?
He is from Iowa.
So maybe
hanging country.
Maybe
they gotta use stuff.
Maybe it's hanging country back then. Who knows?
Yeah. And then the game of cat and mouse, the chase in the woods.
Oh god, this is the stupidest part of the whole episode.
Yeah, where Kirk even at one point gets the sword away from him, and then he tries to slash him, so he throws the sword away, but then Trelane just gets a new sword.
Hold on. How the hell does he break the sword?
Over his
knee.
Come on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if it's a real sword, you couldn't do that.
Not only that, but that sword's also gone through like wood structures and stuff already. Like it's already shown to be pretty solid.
Yeah.
So it's like, how is he putting that over his knee? And if it could go over his knee and break, then why is he running away from it? It's not that bad.
How sharp is this sword? Yes, is kind of in question. And Kirk's
cut that piece of wood off.
Right there, just straight down, bang. Now maybe the trees on this planet are like,
it's no match for his knee though.
No, Kirk's knee is clearly harder than wood.
Kirk Enterprise, but he doesn't get anything.
Yeah, and like Trelane's dirty. We see this quite a few times, even in the duel. But it was in the duel. Like he throws away his shot. He aims his gun in the air because he doesn't really want to kill Kirk at that point. But here he's full on trying to kill him.
He wants to play with him. That's the whole point, right?
And then he's like, okay, but I'll do this game with you, but you let the ship go. And he's like, no, I like this game too much. I have
That is so terrible. That whole
Come on, hit me.
Yeah.
Oh,
He throws the sword away, but then he conjures a new sword. I'm like, you should have kept the
Or
old
it's the
sword.
same sword that he's brought back to him. Maybe he's got like Jedi in
Takes
him.
a big cut, like to cut his head off.
Oh my god, he's a Q Jedi. He's the best of both worlds. Best
Yeah.
of both worlds. Huh? Come on.
Hey,
Anybody?
it's
Anybody?
some deep cuts. Yeah, and then but time and time again, like Kirk kind of beats this guy over and over again. But the whole theme is that Trelane is just has more powers and more
right.
abilities.
And this
right?
is where it's getting wrong. Like
That's when he puts the bars up too.
Yeah, he's like, I locked the door, and then he puts bars on either side. So
oh my god. Okay, I gotta get that.
Kirk's like, that's it. I can't.
Kirk's like, okay, time to go back to the ship.
I couldn't possibly climb these bars. I couldn't possibly just run around you really fast.
Tally ho.
Tally ho. Tally ho.
Oh, that was a cool effect, by the
And
way.
I believe it's pronounced tally ho.
For 60s TV, that was a cool effect. I like
Yeah, it's just like the pop, like the
just
time
pop
jumps
in.
there.
Yeah, they popped right in. They did a good job on it.
I wouldn't feel like I'm this cornered though, as Kirk seems to.
But
I
that's
feel
the
like
thing. The problem is like there's a threat there, but it's really not that much of a threat. You know what I mean? Like he's a threat, but he's not. Like
I think you're right. I think that Trelane wants to beat him. He doesn't want to kill him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like he just wants to fuck with him.
Could have killed him so many times, right?
Yeah, look at that Kirk anger. I love it.
And he says he wants to kill them, and then he says, "Oh, and now after I kill you, I'm going to kill all your crewmates."
I wonder if those boots that Tremaine is wearing there are the same boots from that other episode.
The boots that Kirk put on after sex.
Yeah, after. Well, no, there was no sex. It was 60s television.
Right.
It was presumed.
Yeah. And this is where his parents show up, the green, which is James Doohan, by the way.
It actually is.
Yeah, the guy, and then the
I
woman
actually had the idea on that one. Yeah,
I don't think it did.
Who's the woman?
The woman's her name is her name is Barbara Babcock, and she played a number of roles. She's been in a bunch of episodes we've already watched.
Yeah.
Well, Dad, from one of your favorite episodes, Assignment Earth, with Gary Seven, she voiced the cat. She also voiced the cat Isis.
Oh.
She was also the voice of the Tholian and the Tholian Web. She was also Maya 3 in A Taste of Armageddon and Philania in Plato's Stepchildren. So she's
a well-seasoned actress.
She did a bunch. She maybe one of the most reoccurring Star Trek guest stars.
She probably has more lines in the entire series than Uhura does.
Maybe Trelane's mother. Trelane's mother was the first thing she ever did for Star Trek, though.
Well, this is one of the early episodes, so that would make sense.
Yeah, Philania, but various other ones.
This is what, the 13th episode or something like that?
The 13th. This is the 18th episode or 17th episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and what else was she? Dad, she was on the show Dallas. You liked that show, right?
Oh yeah, what did she play on there?
She was the recurring role of Liz Craig.
Liz Craig. I don't remember.
From 78 to 82.
Yeah, I don't remember Liz Craig.
Oh, that was Barbara.
A little bit before my turn.
And the whole scene with the parents where they're like, "Whoa, this has gone far enough, Trelane," and he's like, I could have done it. I could have been a contender, you know." Just his like, you know, for anybody who's ever had to deal with like maybe a 2-year-old who's not getting their way or something like that. That was kind of what the scene is sort of meant to be. When you said 12 years old, Dad, I was like, I
can totally see Corbin Burns in that episode, you know, as Q, the blonde Q, you know.
Right.
Oh, the blonde one, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because when the one where he showed up with John Delancey and was like, "Okay, you can have your powers back."
You can have your powers back. Yeah. Okay.
Whatever. They're trying to beam you away or whatever.
So maybe the parents are actually just people from the Q continuum.
Maybe. You know, the episode the Voyager
maybe
episode.
He's like a young Q, kind of like that girl from the one Next Gen episode where she's like making puppies all the time.
Amanda, what's her name?
I can't remember.
Amanda Q.
Amanda Q. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
All right, and then we got so after the whole Trelane, like his parents take him away, and I really enjoy that. And then the whole, like, I guess the final moment here on the bridge with Kirk and Spock, where they're like, well, I don't know what to do. Like, he's like, Spock, he was a very like interesting classification, new alien, new discovery. How do we classify him? Kirk said he was just a small boy.
Then a small boy, and a very naughty one at that.
He was a very small boy and a very naughty one at that.
Charlie X.
Charlie.
I wonder if that is what he's going to say to the yeoman later on.
to Yeoman Ross. Maybe.
Yes.
I hope she's of age, because we saw that some of these yeomen are not.
She looked of age.
Yeah, she's probably fine. Okay, so that's the end of the episode. Fun facts.
Fun facts with Jody.
Oh, I got some of those. Okay, hold on here. All right. In an interview of the Star Trek The Next Generation Season 7 DVD, John Delancey says he believed that Gene Roddenberry, whether consciously or subconsciously, was channeling Trelane when he created Q. So,
who said that?
That was Q himself. John
Delancey said that. So he must have watched the episode and saw that.
He believes that he was definitely channeling it.
Did Roddenberry write this episode? I didn't even look. No, it's Paul Schneider wrote this one.
Well, yeah, but obviously he had some sort of input in all the aliens and stuff, right?
Well, the question is though, if Paul Schneider wrote this episode, right, and then later on Gene Roddenberry created a Q character sort of based on this, would Paul Schneider be entitled to royalties?
He should be. It's so similar.
Yeah.
So here you go, Dave. Exactly what you talked about a minute ago. In the book Q Squared, author Peter David related that Trelane was an adolescent Q entity. Trelane's nature may seem inconsistent with Q lore, but David uses creative speculation to explain away any questions that may rise. So there you go. So even though that's not canon according to Dave. All right. And
not just me, the people who decide what's canon.
Paul Schneider originally wrote this episode as an anti-war statement, and got his inspiration from seeing children play war. Okay.
Well, I guess like his fascination with war and him being a kid and like the glorification of that. I guess I could see that, but I didn't feel like when I watched this episode, I really got that intent. If that was his intent,
I didn't either, but I can see what you're saying because it was all about the fight and playing war and battling and.
Why don't you display your weapons and he talks about like the flags and people marching off to their deaths to die for glory and all these things.
Yeah, but those flags that he had in those flags were kind of funny. Which ones they had there?
It was like the flag of France and Ireland and like.
There's some funny flags on there.
I don't know if you have any fun facts on the flags, but
I don't know yet, but maybe we might. Trelane's coat reappeared in an episode of The Monkees called The Prince and the Paupers. same coat. How exciting is that? When DeSalle beams down, his middle fingernail is clearly purple. Who knew?
He must have banged his finger with a hammer or something.
If anybody's ever banged their finger, it's not a fun time.
Yeah.
A brief split screen shows bars that appear to block Kirk's escape at the end of the show without having to rely on editing. So there you go.
Oh, they didn't do that with editing?
Apparently not. They just put them there.
They just poofed them in? Okay.
I guess so. I don't know how they did that, but that's interesting. All right. There's a lot of stuff just about Trelane here. Trelane says to Kirk of Uhura, a Nubian prize.
Yeah, we hadn't touched on that.
Yeah, take on one of the raids and conquest, no doubt. During filming, William Campbell blew this line with the embarrassing blooper, a Nubian slave. Oh, wow, that must have not been good. According to Campbell, Nichelle Nichols, an activist of African-American civil rights movement, responded, "I'll kick you in the ankle." So she was
Why the ankle?
I don't know. I guess she was just being polite.
instead of the ass.
Or the balls.
She probably wanted to say something else, I'm guessing. She was just being a polite, decent, nice woman.
Yeah, clearly, yeah.
As she's known for. All right. William Campbell, who plays Trelane, would later play Captain Koloth in Star Trek's original series, The Trouble with Tribbles. So Dave is correct on that one as well. Who would have doubted Dave anyway? I don't know.
And he played Koloff on Deep Space Nine later on too.
Oh, there you go. An M113 creature is among the trophies on display in Trelane's castle.
The salt vampire.
Yes, the salt vampire.
Yes. What was he in another show, wasn't he? Wasn't that salt vampire used in another episode?
Yeah, it's one of the very first episodes.
One of the I can't remember which episode, but it was in the Man Trap.
The Man Trap, yeah,
it was in Man Trap. When Dr. McCoy sees it, he does a double take. I didn't notice that, so that's kind of interesting. During the scene, the howling musical theme from the episode is heard. It is possible that Trelane has observed planet M113 with his telescope at some point. So that was
maybe. There's also this other weird looking thing he had. He later vaporized. I don't know what this.
They vaporized that thing. Yeah, I don't think I have anything about that. But
it looked like Bruce Wayne's collection from Batman '89.
It looks like a lobster man. Lobster man.
Yeah. Vicky Vale. I think this guy was the king of the Wicker people.
Oh, maybe. M. Night Shyamalan has made a movie about it probably by now. This episode marks the first appearance of Michael Barrier as Lieutenant Vincent DeSalle.
His first name?
Yes, Vincent is his first name. Whose first name was pulled from the episode's final draft of the script. See, you always get ahead of me, Dave. The character returns later in Star Trek: The Original Series, This Side of Paradise, and the original series Cat's Paw.
This Side of Paradise,
which we haven't seen yet.
This Side of Paradise is one of the episodes we haven't done yet.
No,
so is Cat's Paw.
So we're only 2/3 of our way into DeSalle.
Yeah, we still got one more DeSalle episode.
No, we haven't seen Cat's Paw either, Dave.
No, we saw Cat's Paw.
We have done Cat's Paw.
Yeah, we did that many weeks ago. That was our 19th podcast.
Big cat?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you gave it a 6. No, you gave it a 5.1.
Apparently somebody was into the legal stuff.
Jody liked that episode more than you.
I did like that episode.
Yeah, fun. He gave it a 6.
Yeah, I didn't like that episode.
That's one of those rare times when I actually...
But that guy who was the other guy who was the geologist or science guy, who was that guy?
Jaeger?
What?
Jaeger,
yeah. Jaeger. He was in other episodes, wasn't he?
I don't think so.
He looks familiar.
Trelane's little, I guess that was a German thing he was doing.
Yes.
Officer Jaeger.
Well, DeSalle also serves as a navigator in this episode, where he's a biologist in another episode and an assistant chief engineer in another episode.
He's like that episode of Lower Decks where Rutherford was changing jobs every 5 seconds.
It appears so, yes.
Let's hear that German poem. Ein, zwei.
I got the French one, and the German one.
No, let's hear
Officer Jaeger. Und Deutschsoldatlein. 1, 2, 3, 4, gehen wir mit dem Schießgewehr.
I totally could have lived without that. I'm just letting you know.
That's hilarious. I love it.
Uhura refers to Space Fleet Command, even though the name Starfleet and Starfleet Command originated several episodes earlier in the original series Court Martial. And again, in the 2-part episode, The Menagerie, 1 and 2, of course.
But that's Paul Schneider's fault.
It is Paul Schneider's
No royalties for you, Paul Schneider.
Paul Schneider, you're done. You're done, sir. At one point, Sulu asked Kirk how long they should, quote, go along with this charade. Kirk replies, quote, until we can think our way out. 19 years ago, singer-songwriter Bob Dylan used a similar phrase, I'll go along with this charade until I can think my way out, in his song Tight Connection to My Heart. However, the similar line is used in the post-war Humphrey Bogart thriller Tokyo Joe. So it's possible that the film was the original source of both.
19 years earlier, like Bob Dylan wrote a song.
19 years later.
Later, okay.
I might have said earlier, sorry, because there's...
No, you said it later.
I was like, trying to figure out how Bob Dylan was.
And then here's something that I think maybe Adam pointed out. The plot shares many similarities with the original series episode Charlie X, in that they both feature a person with limited maturity with psychic powers who abuse them, and at the end is taken away by powerful psychic beings who arrive Deus Ex Machina style.
That's why I picked this one this week, because last week we did Charlie X and they both disappear in the same way.
Well, it was 2 weeks ago because last week we were on.
Yeah, well,
hiatus.
last week we didn't do it. Yeah.
There's something to do with decks and beers and parties
And
Yeah.
holidays and
Yeah, it was that Karen Rondo.
Yeah.
that
we
Karen,
know her well. We know her
that
well.
Karen's a bad seed.
Karen Rondo, a former panelist on the show.
A
Former panelist, yes. Many. That feels like a long time ago.
Hopefully,
yes.
maybe we can get her back for one final episode.
We'll bring her back for the end. What do you think of all our yesterdays?
Yes, there we go. Past that, I don't think there's anything else we need to talk about.
Okay. All right. Any other? Okay. So then maybe we get to some ratings here, and we'll talk about what we thought of this episode in some quantifiable terms. All right. So, Dad, you want to start us off here?
Yes, sir. I'll take the nod on that. I'm going to give this one a little higher than normal because I thought Eins, five, whatever it was. I'm going 7.5.
Just for a German rant, I like it.
Yeah, German rant.
I'm gonna go as high as 8.5 for this.
Yeah, I'm up there too. If I gave Charlie X 7.5, I gotta give this better. It was a much better episode. I didn't think I'd enjoy it so much. And like I said earlier, that the fact that it inspired Q, gets it an extra mark. So I'm going to 9, Dave.
Oh, you're going 9. Okay.
Even though I think this inspired Q, I'm not all there with this episode, so I'm going to do a 7.5 as well.
I wasn't bored in this episode at all.
No, I was never bored.
There was some scenes I was kind of bored in.
At that point, I was like, okay, you guys can't fly the ship around the planet. Get over it.
Yeah, we're pretty close to the IBMD, Jody.
Yeah. Okay. So that gives us an 8.1 for tonight's episode. I don't think that's good enough to put it in the top 10 or anything like that, but that's a decent episode.
You're not telling me that Spock's brain's next, is it?
Well, we all agree. We all agreed to this. We all said that we would take all of the episodes remaining and we would look at their IMDb ratings and we would go from worst to best.
I'm gonna have to go to the liquor store.
So Spock's brain. We didn't want to end on Spock's brain, so we have to get it out of the way. So that will be next week.
I'm definitely going to the LCBO.
You just kill some brain cells, some Spock brain cells.
There's going to have to be some scotch in my history here.
So we have 11 to go.
We got 11 more.
11 more is what's left to get us to finish off the original 79. You can see there, but that's them in the order we will watch them in. Paradise Syndrome is mentioned, which will get our next installment, our last installment of DeSalle.
There you go.
Monsieur, vive la gloire, vive Napoleon. You know, I admire your Napoleon very much.
He likes foreign languages.
That's who he looks like in that suit.
Yeah, he does. Well, clearly he likes Napoleon. Yeah. So anyway, that wraps up the Squire of Gothos. A decent rating and a great episode. Just because of the nature of what it's going to be, we're going to talk about maybe not such a great episode, but maybe we'll be turned around on this episode. Spock's brain. We'll all give it a blank slate, right? And then, we'll be back next Monday night to talk about
Jody,
Spock's brain.
You got to go in with an open mind, Jody.
Right?
And I'm going to be sauced up out of my mind to watch that episode.
Get ready next Monday.
I'm going to give it a good rating just to keep the averages up.
This Fox brain. That's the one. Yeah, I can't wait for it. And
then this series has just been a long road.
Been a long road getting from there to here. Because I guess when we get to all our yesterdays, we will be transitioning into the Star Trek Enterprise podcast Monday nights as well, which is very exciting coming up. So
I'm more excited for Kevin than anything.
Yeah, we're getting Kevin Millard in for that one.
Kevin Millard, the guy who absolutely despises the series.
Right. He's going to be we're going to see.
We're trying to turn him around. We're trying to turn him around.
Even moderately.
I just want him to acknowledge that it exists.
You can never get Kevin. Kevin will always tell you the goods if he likes it or not. So
he doesn't hold back.
He does not. With his ratings, like him and Ash to give
Adam
one.
And I will be co-hosting this one. So
yes, Adam and Jody to lead that ship, that NX-01, that whatever.
Are you a panelist, Dave?
I'm a panelist.
He's a panelist and a producer still.
A producer. So I will be a long road. That's the Star Trek prequel, Dad. That's 100 years before Kirk.
Yes, that's the prequel.
Yeah, but was made in the early 2000s. Also,
Dave, there's clearly way more other shows that you cover.
We have so many shows.
How many shows?
So many, I can't even count. Let me see if I can count them. Let's count the ways. So aside from our Monday night original series and, of course, Enterprise coming up in 11 weeks, or 12 weeks, I suppose, we have Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which is ongoing. We're doing a complete series rewatch there on Tuesday nights at 9-ish, led by my brother Jeff. We're into season 4 now. Tomorrow's season. The 4th season, the best season.
The Worf season.
It's this, Worf just got to the show. It is exciting. I was pretty jazzed for the Way of the Warrior last week.
It's really good at this point, yeah.
And then tomorrow's episode, we're talking about The Visitor, which is the one where Jake Sisko is mostly played by Tony Todd, which is kind of weird. But he'll be Tony Todd. It's a great episode about father and son. So check that one out. It's going to be a really, it's maybe one of the more emotional Deep Space Nine episodes. And also, there's more Star Trek Thursday, Star Trek Lower Decks.
Oh,
we're talking Lower Decks. We got a panel coming in. We're going to be doing it at 7:00 this Thursday because we got to get it out of the way before Big Brother.
I'm excited. I'm going to have to jump on an episode or two.
Yes, we're going to have Jaemeel Robinson, Jeff Mader, and Davin Skellhorn will be our panelist for that.
Davin Skellhorn from Nova Scotia?
From Nova Scotia. We're going to get a Nova Scotia perspective. Yeah. He's coming in.
All the way from the interwebs.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about the episode 1 of season 2. It doesn't air on CTV Sci-Fi until 10 p.m., or 9 p.m., I guess, on Thursday. We will be illegally downloading it from the Americans, because they get it on Paramount Plus like at 3 a.m. The same. So
I didn't hear anything.
Full disclosure, that's what we're doing. That's what you forced us into, CTV Sci-Fi. Why can't you put it on earlier?
That's how I did all last season. So
yeah.
Apparently, they let you put more stuff on now than they used to before.
Well, it just works differently in the States versus Canada. In the States, like the
release times are all nuts.
Release times are different. In Canada, they still do broadcast release times, and that's a whole different thing, right?
Yeah. So on Paramount, it just kind of shows up and like in the early morning before anybody's awake, and then everybody else has to wait until the end of the day.
Midnight Pacific, I think, is when they do it. Yeah. So anyway, so we're going to be talking about that. And then also Star Trek Radio Theater. We just did one not too long ago. Star Trek The Next Generation's Cause and Effect, The Time Loop. Check that out. We'll be setting up another one probably in a month or so. It was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed that one. And then also we're talking Star Trek Discovery eventually. We're going to be talking Star Trek Picard. We're going to be talking Star Trek. What's the other ones they got?
Discovery, the final season.
Strange
Discovery. There's already rumors of a 5th season. So don't worry.
Season.
Yeah, it's coming. It's happening. Okay. Anyway, so all that. And then our other channels, we have Live Long and Podcast of Star Trek channel. Then Super Mater Brothers Podcasting. Do you got to go, Adam?
No, Adam's just like, why is there only 4 seasons?
There's not only 4 seasons.
He's angry.
Maybe 7 seasons.
This is the final season.
No.
I'm marking it right now. But anyway.
No.
Right.
We'll see who's right at the end.
Super Mater Brothers Podcasting is our other channel. We talk about Big Brother 3 times a week, Sundays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 9:30. Jeff and Jaemeel and I check that out on our Super Mater Brothers, plus all the other things we do on Marvel and Survivor. And Trivial Debates, our third channel, our monthly show about movies, TV, sports, and more, an arguing game show type format. So if you don't know about those things, check them out and make sure to subscribe, like, and comment, and engage. Tell your friends and do those things. Okay, so I think we can close the book on tonight's podcast and the Squire of Gothos. Thank you, gentlemen.
I would have won.
Yeah, I don't have that as a clip, but
I would have won.
You know, we can go ahead on the German maybe because Dad likes it so much.
Yes.
All right. So until then, time.
Dry.
Live long and podcast. We'll see you next Monday for Spock's Brain.
Und Officer Jäger. Und Deutschsoldat 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, gehen wir mit den Schiss